The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read. Your source for news, politics, sports, and all things trending. Here's your host, Marcus Gentry.
Madam Speaker, the President of the United States.
In, but this is an easy projection with the margins as they are.
Welcome to the Daily Read, and I am your host, Marcus Gentry.
At 8:30 on the East Coast, being added to the tally for Kamala Harris, Donald Trump leading in some of these big states in the South. Which
I want to thank you guys for joining me tonight.
Starting to report in. Speaking of the South,
I tried to stay out of this election.
She's in the key county.
And the reason I tried to stay out of this election,
first vote starting
let me turn her down.
What do you hear? You've got both campaigns really laser focused on this area.
Yeah, they care a lot about this county, Savannah. Let me just show you, because we've just started to see precinct captains coming in with their memory cards with the votes that happened in person on election day. You see this line that goes out the door around. What you're looking at are all of the precinct captains from Gwinnett County. Ultimately, what they're doing is they're coming in here. They have with them little bags that are secured with the official election seal on the top of the envelope and memory cards, and at least two from each precinct that have the total of votes for the day. So they come in here, they check in with these folks, and then they ultimately take their memory cards to the different election workers that are sitting around here, and they open up, they look at those envelopes, make sure they're sealed properly, make sure it has everything necessary by Georgia law inside of it, and then they send them back into this room here, where we start to see those votes processed and then sent out to the public. In addition to all that's happening on here, back here, and come with me, we'll leave a little through everyone here, there's more counting going on in the back. You mentioned this county is really important to both political campaigns. I will tell you why. This is a rapidly growing county in the state of Georgia. It's also incredibly diverse. It leans blue, but back in 2020, Donald Trump carried about 40% of the vote in Gwinnett County. And ultimately, what Republicans in the Trump campaign were looking for tonight is to see if they could increase turnout just enough where they run up the margins by a few percentage points and hold on to Republican strongholds in the state, and then are maybe well positioned to carry this state. Democrats, the Harris campaign, they were also hoping to...
I had to turn her down for a minute. I know some of my people that watch my show was wondering why I haven't touched on Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Well, number one, I'm finna eat dinner. That's number one. But number one, and this is for my people on iHeartRadio, I'm not really worried about YouTube too much. They monetize you sometimes they don't. But the thing about this election is different from Hillary Clinton is Hillary Clinton could have ran this country. Not only is she savvy and a snake at the same time when it comes to politics, but Hillary Clinton had Bill Clinton with her, and she would have took Bill Clinton back into the White House, which is the reason why I was so adamant about Hillary winning instead of Trump. It didn't turn out like that. Now you got this election. You see, Hillary Clinton, I don't think she cares too much about feminism. That's not her bag. Hillary Clinton is more of American dominance across the world. And that was Hillary Clinton's thing. Now, Kamala Harris is something different. And this is the main reason I stayed out of this election, because Kamala is more about the feminism aspect of America. Donald Trump is more about selling old scores and bigotry and doing things for the rich. So this is what you call America has to pick their own poison. You're gonna have to pick your own poison tonight. So far, the poison that they're trying to pick seems to be Kamala Harris. Y'all gotta excuse me, I'm finna eat dinner. But the poison that America is choosing to pick tonight seems to be Kamala Harris.
About election workers, of course, right? And the threats that election workers have faced in so many of these battleground states. And you look at Georgia, that is the home, of course, of Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, who were two elections workers who came under fire, faced death threats, faced severe hardship in their lives because of those election fraud lies from former President Trump. So these election workers, man, are they doing a civic duty for everybody?
My favorite part of voting is when I walk in to see the smiley faces. They've got this great task in front of them, and it's
Well, absolutely.
How good election workers?
Yes, and it's part of the story of tonight, though, and tomorrow morning, because they've brought on more election workers in all of these states to make sure that they can count more quickly. I do think Ellison's report was fascinating. Gwinnett County, it went for Clinton by 6 points, for Biden by 18 points. So this is a county that Democrats have been increasingly eyeing, as have Republicans.
We talk about the gender gap as I go to Senator McCaskill and Sarah Fagan. I mean, I mentioned there were Trump rallies in Gwinnett County. One of them was the one where Tucker Carlson, the former Fox News host, talked about that daddy's coming home and going to give a little girl a spanking. Like, the sheriff's coming to town, which is a message that...
Tonight, America's finna pick their poison. All of us are gonna be poisoned. Either with Trump's madness or Kamala Harris's, social feminist. Either way you put it, we're gonna get poisoned. And it looks like right now, the men in this country still is not ready for a female president. They've had a female vice president, but I don't think they're ready for a female president yet. We're gonna see. This is gonna be interesting. But I chose to stay out of this election because I don't like neither one of them candidates. Like I said, Hillary Clinton was a better choice than Trump for two reasons. She's been in politics down in the trenches, while Kamala Harris was prosecuting black men in California. Hillary Clinton was in the Oval Office with Bill when he was president. She's been Secretary of State. Hillary Clinton was a better choice. And she would have brought Bill Clinton back into the White House with her. But this Kamala Harris, I don't know.
When we were in the midst of a pandemic, Donald Trump was actively telling people not to vote early or not vote by mail, saying he was suspicious of it. To Lester's point, he changed that too. Now they're actively encouraging Republican voters to go in and early vote, and Republican voters seem to have answered that call.
That's right. It was a huge strategic blunder in 2020 to have done that, particularly in a close race. Had he not done that, perhaps he would have won. So I think he learned that lesson. And also, if you just look at the trends in early voting and the trends in absentee by states, it's a prudent thing to do.
To be clear, the Republican apparatus absolutely made a big push this cycle to get voters out to vote early. Donald Trump himself was all over the map on that. You see it at his rallies. He talks about at one rally he would say go out and do it. At another rally he would cast doubt on the validity of ballots that were put in through the mail, etc. Some of that likely seeped down to some of his voters in some of these key battleground states, as we heard from
talking to voters in some of these battlegrounds. Remember that this is a former president who, over the summer, you look at, let's say, 20 rallies, at 5 of them he cast out on the results of the election even before votes were counted. That ramped up in just the last month. At 14 of 20 rallies, he did the same thing. So he has not been super consistent on this.
Let's go to Tom Yamas right now. Tom, as we speak, North Carolina, Georgia, and Pennsylvania are counting votes right now.
Yeah, and we're getting ready for poll closings in places like Nebraska, and Nebraska could be the key to it all. And I know what you're saying, Nebraska, yes. So when you look at our beautiful map here, you see the maps, the states that are red, the states that are blue, and our battlegrounds here that aren't colored in. And then Nebraska and Maine, they have this kind of Where's Waldo effect. When we hit it, here's why. Nebraska and Maine, they both give out their electors a little differently, their electoral votes. If you win the popular vote, you get 2 in Nebraska, and then they give it by congressional district as well. Trump is going to win 2 of the congressional districts most likely in the popular vote, but Congressional District 2, CD2 in Nebraska, is a battleground district, and the entire election, I say, could come down to this. Let me explain why. So let's take you to Nebraska and show you where CD2 is. It's essentially the city of Omaha, right? I'm going to draw it for you and then show you the congressional district. It's the city of Omaha, a little bit of Saunders, and a little bit of Sarpy as well. I should say all of Saunders as well. That's essentially the way it looks, right? I'm going to give you the congressional map so we can cut it out a little more. So this right here, that's Congressional District 2. It's a swing district, as I said. 2016, Trump wins by 6,000 votes. In 2020, Biden wins by 20,000 votes. So why is it important? Because if we come down to that scenario where it's 269, Savannah, I gamed that out, it's going to come down to Nebraska too. So every vote does matter. It matters so much that we spoke to people in Omaha, asking them about what this campaign was like. They say they've never seen anything like it. They've been inundated with ads saying on the television, on the radio, people are calling them, unlike anything they've ever seen before. Again, it likely won't come down to Nebraska too, but it might, and that's why every vote matters. Again, Omaha, the biggest area of Nebraska, fastest growing area, and tonight we'll be watching it.
Tommy promised me you would not raise the specter of the 269 to 269.
It could happen. We're ready for it.
It could happen. The Constitution has provisions for it, but can we just all agree? Let's hope we don't get there.
Is that Chuck Todd's?
Is that Chuck Todd's head exploding? Yes, perhaps it is. But it's interesting to see these are such contested races, and it's actually nice to see. I think we've divided our country so much into red and blue. It's nice to see that once you get at a county by county level, all of these states they're not monolithic. There's more to it, and we still do live right next to each other.
What does that remind you of? This woman just said the country is divided in red and blue. Sound like games. Sound like games. You know, we take a lot of our culture as black people from white people, and then we turn around and flip it and turn it upside down and put our own little spin to it, and then we give it back to white people. It's strange. There's like a love-hate relationship in this country between us and them. And I say that to say this. Whichever one of these people win, for the next 4 years, it's going to be tension everywhere. It's going to be so much tension that if Kamala Harris wins, it's just going to be tension. People are going to be walking on eggshells because of the whole Me Too thing. She's a woman, and she's a woman of color. If Donald Trump wins, you're going to see an uptick in Caucasian violence. Let me explain that. I was just in the Loves, as you can tell, and me and some truck drivers was in there having a conversation, and some of the truck drivers said, "Hey man, you voting for Trump? You hope Trump win tonight?" Now mind you, I'm the only black man in the room. There's about 3 or 4 white truckers in there, and all of these men are Trump supporters. So as I told him, and as I'm telling you guys, I'm staying out of this election. Usually I have commentary about what's going on, but as I told him, I was staying out of it because Trump is he's incapable of running anything, not even a company. If he's a CEO of a company, even his own company, his sons need to take it over. I don't think Trump can run nothing except straight into the ground. And then Kamala Harris is finna pushing a feminist agenda. That feminist agenda Kamala Harris is finna push is finna be so serious that she brought all the hoes out. This was Pink. I'm giving a shout out to Pink Book Lessons. I was listening to one of her shows, and she talked about how Kamala Harris is bringing all the hoes out. You know, J-Lo and you know, Tronisha and Felicia and all of them, and Cardi B and the thought pocket, the ass jackers. That's what I heard an old man call these women, the ass jackers. They cock their ass in the air and jack them everywhere they go. And you can already tell if she wins this election what it's finna be for the next 4 years. It's finna be Ho Central. I ran across an old video of the first female that spoke at the first feminist convention, and she was explaining how they're trying to take down the male patriarchy, and she was explaining how they're going to do it through sexual liberation of women. It's a whole thing for real. And like I said, when you got Glorilla at a Kamala Harris rally singing her song, a lot of people was thinking like, what in the world is going on? You know. But I digress. Like I said, I'm staying out of this. I'm just watching. I'm here to watch, like you guys. I'm here to watch.
This was one of these races where reproductive rights was a big issue. Former Congresswoman W. Carson-Powell trying to make that the big focus of the race, but it was not enough to get her over the finish line. We're watching this very closely, the Senate race in Ohio. Too early to call Senator Sherrod Brown looking for a fourth term against former car dealer, Trump-backed businessman Bernie Moreno, so we'll watch that closely. Pennsylvania, another big battleground. Senator Bob Casey with 67% of the vote. Dave McCormick with 30.4% of the vote. Too early to call with just 13% in. Let's take a look at the big picture here. Again, Republicans have now picked up one seat for the Senate at this hour, 42 to 33. Okay. Continue to watch this very closely, Hallie. Taking a step back, the Republicans need 2 seats, and this is a map that is very difficult for Democrats to hold on to their Senate races. They're on defense in a lot of these states. Yeah, and the reason for that is likely Montana. This is the other pickup that Republicans feel very confident about. They think they'll be able to get. I will tell you that Ohio Senate race being too early to call is interesting. I talked with one Senate Republican source who said, you know, they would have loved to see that call an hour ago, right? They would have loved to have had that in the bag, these 2-seat pickups earlier in the night, Savannah. But we'll wait and see how this one goes. Okay, we are just coming up the top of the hour. We're going to have some major battleground poll closings coming up. And
Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, all coming up. So this is the drama beginning to clearly build right now. The votes are being counted, and again, we'll get those closings here very shortly. Let's check back into the presidential race in the road to 270. All right, it is 8:51 in the East, and here is where we stand right now on the road to 270. And it has been a night of big surprises so far, with more to come. We're now just minutes away from additional closings.
Yeah, we are, and we see that map starting to fill out, so we will watch for those next poll closings. It's in all corners of the country now, almost at 9 o'clock on the East Coast, and they're some of the biggest states to close yet.
At the top of the hour, a major round of poll closings with the most battleground states of the entire night.
15 states and 163 electoral college votes up for grabs, including 3 critical swing states.
Will Vice President Kamala Harris hold on to the blue wall that cuts through Wisconsin?
Good evening, Wisconsin!
And Michigan?
Michigan, we are not going back! Or will former President Trump break through like he did in 2016?
We're going to win Wisconsin.
Plus, the first Western battleground, Arizona, moments away from closing.
A very big hello, Arizona. We love you,
Arizona, we aim to fight this battle on every front.
We are standing by for our first vote count in from these make-or-break states as our decision desk gets ready to make new calls on the road to 270.
Many votes to...
They make this stuff seem so dramatic. They make it seem so dramatic. And I'm going to tell y'all something about Joe Biden. I don't think he was a bad president. Some of y'all might think he's too old, but Trump is just as old as he is. Joe Biden reminds me of the Clinton and the Bush eras. How a president did his job and you didn't see too much scandal, you didn't see too much of him, except for stuff people try to put on him. We're not going to get that with these two president candidates.
Of the wait. If people got in line by 8 p.m. Eastern Time and they closed the doors here at that time, people were going to be allowed to go through the registration process, and it seems people are still going through that at this hour. This is a traditional Democratic stronghold, the city of Detroit. However, when we've spoken to GOP operatives in the state, they tell us that they see Vice President Harris's base as, quote, crumbling because of various headwinds. However, there are other potential headwinds that could send traditionally Republican voters toward the Vice President. We will have a clearer answer as those results start coming in at 9 p.m. Eastern. Savannah, back to you.
And we'll get a better idea about turnout, too, which is all important for the Harris campaign in Detroit and also those collar counties. We want to switch over. Let's go to Arizona, the Mountain West. Polls closed. Gotti Schwartz, they're outside a polling place. Have you seen a lot of crowds?
Yeah, polls close in about 6 minutes here. This is the end of the line, and this is about a 60 to 70 minute wait here. So you got the people that are at the end of the line right now, probably about 300 to 400 people in front of them. You're noticing a lot of MAGA hats here talking about the gender divide. Gender divide is very much in play here at Arizona State University, and there's been so much talk about low propensity voters. One of the things that we've been noticing here and talking to students about is the involvement of fraternities. Normally fraternities, they may not be organizing and may not be turning out to vote as much as you would expect, but here at the ASU campus it does seem like the fraternities have been involved in turning out the vote, and those that we've been talking to say that they're turning out for former President Donald Trump. We've also talked to a lot of other students that have been coming out for policy issues. There's several props. The issue of abortion is extremely important in turning out the vote. Immigration is also important, but I gotta say, just eavesdropping what people have been talking about in line, it's been surprising how often the topic of the Joe Rogan podcast keeps coming up. We've talked to several students now who say that they listened to that Joe Rogan podcast with the former president, and that was the deciding factor for them. And they've also said that if the Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States, would have appeared on that podcast, they may have had their vote skewed. It's really interesting because, you know, some people are talking about policy. Others are talking more about kind of like vibes. Well, I like the vibe of Trump, or I like the vibe of Kamala Harris, but it's not so policy specific. But that's just some of what we've seen. We're almost to the end of the line.
These people don't like no vibe. These people like chaos. We live in a country where chaos reigns. When someone like King Von, who's a mass serial killer, can be celebrated. You know, which is what's going on. And Donald Trump is going to bring that to the people. He's going to bring chaos over the next 4 years if he wins.
In Florida, but you were seeing it needed a 60% threshold, as you said, Lester. This would be the first ballot initiative that we've seen anywhere in the country since the overturning of Roe versus Wade that has failed. However, the other ballot initiatives were not this high of a threshold here, and I see you want to jump in.
No, it's just the same number, right? It was 57-58 in Ohio, 57-58 in Kansas. I mean, I think we know what the number is. Ironically, I talked to some Florida Republicans who secretly had hoped this would pass, because now Florida elected officials in 2026, which is their big election year, they will have to face the vote on a 6-week ban. And then suddenly that will sort of upend just the state's politics.
Yeah.
But there's clearly...
I'm going to take the time to promote this book. I've been reading this book, people. Technical Analysis. You guys should read this book. I didn't realize how deep this was when it comes to the stock market. And I can't even read a whole chapter. And what I mean by that is, of course I can read a whole chapter, but I can't read a whole chapter and process it all, because it's that deep. You got to take your time and read it to understand what's going on in the stock market. And I said that to say because volatility is chaos. Donald Trump brings chaos. Listen to what I just said for all of you stock traders out there. Volatility is chaos. Donald Trump brings chaos. Don't let that slip over your head for all my stock traders out there.
These polls are going to close. There was a late election poll. Iowa just had a very restrictive abortion ban passed, and this shock poll on the eve of the election had Kamala Harris carrying a red state. So it's just a very potent issue.
Not to overread into it, but it is an indicator perhaps, and the pollster there, Gold Standard pollster, thought perhaps the abortion issue was motivating these older white women, right? A demographic we've been watching tonight.
And Sean, well, let's go to the election year. We'll look right here as we get some more poll closings here. We can give a few more characterization. In just 3 seconds, all of these states will see their polls closed, and we'll begin counting the votes. Here is state of Texas. We were just talking about Donald Trump will win in the state of Texas when all the votes are counted. NBC News projects that Donald Trump will also win in North Dakota tonight. South Dakota, same story. That will also go into the Donald Trump column this evening. We move to the state of Wyoming. In 3 electoral votes at stake, Donald Trump, the projected winner in Wyoming. Here's the map. The road to 270 now getting interesting. 154 for Donald Trump.
Right here, you can tell he's ecstatic that Donald Trump is winning right now. But I'm warning you, America. Everybody listen to my voice. I'm warning you. This man is bad for this country. Not saying Kamala Harris is just the queen she's supposed to be. But Donald Trump, we finna have some problems. Because as I said, you got a man who's finna come into the Oval Office with a vendetta. And he's gonna start destroying things. And I think the only thing that's gonna be able to keep Donald Trump in check is if people tell him, when you leave office for this last time, how you act while you president can probably depend on whether they're going to lock you up or not. because those charges ain't going nowhere. They might have stopped or been shelved to the side for right now because of the election, but those charges ain't went nowhere, people. And when you take that many top secret files to your private residence, there was a woman in Hawaii. There was a story I ran across about this woman in Hawaii who she put a paper in her briefcase that she wasn't supposed to have, and she didn't think nothing of it. They gave this woman 5 years for that one piece of paper. 5 years, people. I don't know if she's still locked up now or not, but 5 years. Any kind of time Donald Trump do is going to be a life sentence to him.
But this has been a campaign for the trying to improve their margins. They got blown out without putting in 2020. If they were able to move that from.
We got an echo.
In this case.
We got an echo going on. Let me find it. I'm back, people. I had to.
What's happening around the?
I had to go into the truck stop real quick because a lot of my fellow truckers, you know, mostly grossly overweight white guys with big long beards, is standing around the TV in there rooting for Donald Trump. So I had to go inside and poke fun at them a little bit. But I don't know. I think Kamala Harris might lose. But I will say this one thing I did find out today about the whole Big Meat situation, how he's gotten out. I want to talk about that on the next show, but I'm going to continue on with the P. Diddy series. We're going to talk about P. Diddy being the gangster. We already talked about the pimp side. And I'm going to do a markup on this television series called Penguin. We're going to talk about that because I think it's one of the hardest hitting shows that reminds you of The Sopranos. If you like The Sopranos, you'll like Penguin. But we'll get to that on another occasion.
In Iowa, Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, that is too early to call as well.
These people are very nervous. You can tell. I don't think Donald Trump had a wide open lead like this the last time he ran for president.
How those counties, those collar counties in Pennsylvania might go. Remember, President Biden won Pennsylvania not because he won the Philadelphia County area, but because he was able to really drive up the vote among white working class voters in those collar counties. One more point just to mention as we watch all of these returns come in. When President Biden was at the top of the ticket, a state like North Carolina was out of reach for Democrats. The fact that we're talking about it right now, the fact that there's been so much play in North Carolina, that former President Trump spent so much time there in recent days, underscores the fact that they have tried to open up more paths, and we'll have to see if that was effective.
Let me find it. We got an echo.
And how that might affect.
Let me go ahead and give you guys sort of a preview of the whole T.I. and 50 Cent beef and how it affects Big Meech. There's been rumors going around that there was a woman named Tammy who. Well, first of all, let me go back. Let me go back. And I'm explain to you like this. The feds have this thing called Rule 35 or Rule 25 or something like that. It's where you don't snitch, but somebody in your family snitch, or your girlfriend, or your wife, or your best friend. And the prosecutor gives you credit for it and lets you out. Now, some people are saying Big Meech got a time cut, but not that much of a time cut. Some people are saying that there was a woman who helped the feds bust another drug dealer and gave Big Meech the credit for it to get him out. Now, the reason why that's come up is because T.I. and 50 Cent is beefing. And 50 Cent played an old video of T.I. telling people to call the tip hotline and tell on people. I want to find that video. Let me find that video, because right now the election is going slow. Let me find this video and bring it up. Let me find this video. That's not what I want. I'm gonna find this video for you guys while we're sitting here waiting on these election results, because this is interesting. A lot of these people are acting up straight fool ever since Diddy got locked up, and I didn't realize how much power that Diddy had. The man was, he had a lot of people living in his shadow. You can tell. You can basically tell by how people are moving now that Diddy's locked up. But I'm finna find this video for you. Let me see. Find this video. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Okay. As I was saying, if you want references to what I'm talking about when I say Rule 35, look at this movie called Snitch with the Rock Dwayne Johnson in it. And that movie basically tells you how a person can claim they ain't snitching because their paperwork is clean. They ain't told on nobody. They had other people do it. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, let me show you what I'm talking about. You guys, let me show you what I'm talking about. Let me see. Which one? I think it was, no, it wasn't that one. I think this was it. I think this is the one that was it. And what I was saying earlier, how I was around when T.I. came to the feds, and the man had automatic rifles, okay? He had automatic rifles, he had silencers, and he's a felon. He ain't supposed to have this stuff. T.I. was facing 20 years, wound up doing 12 months. And all the guys in the federal joint was, how can I put it, trying to check his paperwork. And of course, his paperwork is clean. Can't nobody find no paperwork on T.I. I think I talked about this before. But the thing about it is, Tiny, his wife, and trust me, this is another reason why I say none of these women are no victims. These women be knowing the dirt. This is what's going on. I went to an all-white affair. Some guys that was local, big time of dope boys, they saw me at the gas station. They said, hey man, you know, all the guys that's been in the feds, we're gonna have this all-white affair, and we want you to come. I looked at each and every one of them guys and shook my head, because each and every one of them guys that was at that all-white affair was not even supposed to be out on the streets. Each and every one of those men had 20 and 30 year sentences. Some of them guys beat me out. And it's amazing. How in the hell you beat me out? This is what's going on in the hoods of America.
I mean, you've been looking a lot into the youth vote, and we were just talking about abortion, and for young women, that obviously is a galvanizing issue for many of them.
It certainly is. For young women, it is their top issue, and that's where we're really seeing a huge gender divide also. For young women, 42% saying it is their top issue, to just 10% of men saying that it's their top issue. When you talk about men, it's what you guys were mentioning earlier, the threats to democracy is up there, as well as the economy. There are certain states, too, where we are seeing, I know we were talking about North Carolina a moment ago, where we are seeing Trump improve specifically with that young men under 30. In North Carolina, when I came to just a little bit ago, 60% said they supported him. That's up from 42% that voted for him back in 2020. So continuing to watch that. Abortion was also one where I saw a lot of activation on those college campuses all over the state of North Carolina, just talking about getting up to vote for the presidential ticket with that being attached to it. Of course, with the issue being attached to Harrison within Michigan, as well as in Arizona. Arizona's an interesting one, though, because, of course, as I'm talking to the expert when it comes to Arizona, but the state of ASU.
We're in check out of the blue wall here, and we have a new characterization in the state of Wisconsin. Our decision desk now calling it too close to call. You can see Kamala Harris out front right now, 23% of the vote in there, but again, too close to call in Wisconsin. Our election night coverage continues next with another batch of poll closings, including a critical swing state. We hope you can stay with us.
And how you get set for the day ahead matters. It's about getting caught up and getting ahead, because every day deserves the best start.
As we come out of the commercial break, a new characterization here in Pennsylvania. Our decision desk now calling this race too close to call. Kamala Harris leading right now with 34% in, but again, too close to call. We also
56 precincts in Gwinnett County. What they're dropping off right now, you see these.
I had to take a brief pause for a second to go back into the truck stop and talk a little crap to the truck drivers in there who are watching the election. But I think I'm going to call this a night. I'm going to tell you what my prediction is, and I'm finna go to bed on this one. My prediction is going to be that Donald Trump is going to win. I could be wrong. I don't know if America is ready for a female president, but I will tell you this. If Donald Trump wins this election, it's going to be straight chaos. Straight chaos. And nothing's going to get done in Congress. We're going to have Senate meetings after Senate meetings about calling people before Congress and trying to get in their business and finding out what they did this day and that day. It's just going to be total chaos. There's going to be a lot of people get fired. The main thing that I want y'all to take away from this is that if Donald Trump wins, watch the people he put around him. These people are going to be neo-Nazis. They're going to be militiamen. They're going to be people that really don't care about the state of affairs of America. Just get back at whatever gripe they feel like getting back at. On the other hand, if Harris wins, we're moving towards feminism all the way. So this is the reason I stayed out of this election. I didn't do too much talking about it. I did want to cover it tonight, but this is getting tedious. So I'm finna go to bed on this one. This is the Daily Read, and I'm out.
At the top of this hour, including California and its whopping 54 electoral votes, and a look at who's ahead in the race to 270 on election night.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
Business.